What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's captaincy time for game week 7. So as always, going to go through some of the prime candidates for captaincy this week. I do think the main options are probably a little bit more narrow this week than they were last week. I think last week we had Man City as options. This week I'm not quite as convinced. But as well as the prime candidates, I'm going to go through some of the maybe lesser differential picks if you want to think a bit more outside the box, that kind of thing as well. So let's get going with the first match. If you enjoy the video, please do give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump into it. So it's Spurs versus Brighton. A few people might be a little bit frustrated from last week, unless you're captain Son, of course. He got 11 points, but Kane didn't do anything. And Burnley, who haven't defended that well so far, they've not been bad, but maybe not up to the standard that we kind of expect from them. They did really well, right? They defended well. They blocked a lot of Spurs shots. In the second half, they didn't let Spurs have too many shots in the box. They did end up scoring, but it wasn't a huge amount of goals. And this week, on paper, when you look at the fixtures, should be easier. Although some of the underlying numbers for Brighton, which I've got from Fantasy Football Scout, are very interesting indeed, right? And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a sec. But ultimately, what's not happened so far is Brighton keeping many clean sheets. So they've only kept one, which is against Newcastle away, when they won 3-0. They conceded 1 goal versus West Brom in the last game, 1 goal versus Crystal Palace the game before that. That one was a little bit unlucky. That was a penalty. Outside of that, Crystal Palace didn't have any shots in the box. Like, their XG for that game, non-penalty, was 0.00. So a little bit unlucky to concede in that one. 4 versus Everton, 3 versus Chelsea, 3 versus Man United. So they've played some tough teams, and those teams have scored quite a few goals against Brighton. So you would expect Spurs to maybe do the same. The interesting thing, right, bearing in mind they've played 6 games, they're the 3rd best for expected goals conceded, right, which is surprising to me. They've had the least amount of shots conceded in the box. Brighton, this is, by the way, not Spurs. Brighton have had the least amount of shots in the box. Now, the least amount of shots in the box doesn't necessarily mean anything. A lot of people will just go by expected goals conceded. That's the actual quality of the shot, the positioning, etc., etc. But that's still quite impressive, right? So they're doing something right, but the goals are still going in. So you can look at it 2 ways. One, they've got mistakes in them. Ryan's not that good in goal. Or, up until this point, maybe they've been a little bit unlucky with the amount of goals conceded. If I do the maths really quick, they've conceded, 12 goals? And their expected goals conceded is something like 6.08 or something low like that. So they've maybe been a little bit unlucky. So it might not be the easy game that we think on paper for Spurs. But as I keep saying on these captaincy videos, sometimes you've got to just go for the attack. And obviously Spurs' attack has been brilliant. Dunk is also suspended because of that horrible tackle. I think it was in the Crystal Palace game as well. That was on Cahill, so that wasn't decent either, bad either, or it is bad for Brighton, I should say. And obviously Spurs' attack is looking really good. And I think this will be a different game because Burnley kind of soaked up a lot of pressure. They sat deep. Brighton probably can try and do that. Like, obviously, they've got a pretty decent defence with Ben White in there as well. He's been playing in midfield for a few games. I don't think they're going to sit as deep as Burnley. I think there will be space in behind against Brighton. So it's still very tricky to choose between Kane and Son because underlying numbers wise, Kane is still slightly better. Son got the goal in the last game, but it wasn't really a huge amount between the two of them in that one. But if there is going to be space in behind, Son's going to be the one to exploit it. Like if it was against a deeper defence, like maybe West Brom will try and defend a bit deeper. Maybe Kane will be the better option then because he'll be able to get further forward. But against Brighton, if there is going to be space in behind, Kane's going to drop a bit deeper as we've seen. And by the way, a lot's made of how much Kane is dropping deep. But he's still having more shots than Son in the box, right? So on the counter, obviously Son looks really good because Kane's supplying the ball. But ultimately, Kane is still having quite a few shots in the box. So in this one, maybe Son just about, but I would not be surprised if Kane outscores him again. At some point, I always say this, at some point he's going to get a dodgy penalty. And I say dodgy just because penalties can't be relied upon. But they are an easy way to top up your score. So perhaps Son just about in this one. And on paper, I do think it looks good. And it's probably better than Burnley last week. But Brighton, I don't know, the numbers are saying they've been a little bit unlucky. I don't know if Spurs is the game for them to turn it around. But the amount of goals they score could be limited. So Liverpool versus West Ham next. Another pretty good game on paper, obviously, for Liverpool. But West Ham are another team that are doing really well. And again, underlying numbers-wise, it looks pretty good. 4th best for shots conceded in the box, not far off Brighton. 5th best for expected goals conceded, not far off Brighton. And when you look at the teams they've played, it's pretty impressive, right? They've had, apart from Newcastle on the opening day, they've had a pretty rough run of fixtures. And this is the last one, right? We all know about game week 8. We've been talking about Antonio, or at least I have, about Game Week 8 like every single video since the start of the season. But this is obviously a tough game for West Ham. Now, at the time of recording this, right, I don't know when this video is going to go out yet, because it's been a bit of a weird end to the week, but it will go out, I'd assume, before the press conferences, or before most of the press conferences, right? So we're still waiting on Antonio news. There's some weird stuff going on with West Ham that Moyes said he should be probably okay after the match, but obviously we hadn't seen like scans and any further news. And then kind of in the know West Ham accounts on Twitter were saying it's actually probably going to be a bit longer than Moyes is saying. But then Moyes is trying to kind of shut down the amount of leaks that are coming out of West Ham. So you don't know if that's affecting the info the in the knows are getting, etc., etc., etc. So we don't know. And in the press conference, hopefully Moyes will give us a bit of a better answer. Now, you might be saying, why does Antonio matter when you're looking at captaincy? Because no one's really going to captain, I think, Trent and Robertson with Van Dijk out. But I do think sometimes attackers do affect defence in some ways, right? So Antonio, the great thing about him is, as a striker, he can pretty much do anything, right? He's not just one-dimensional. Sometimes you'll have, I don't want to name any players and it sound like disrespectful, but you might have a player like Giroud, for example, can hold the ball up really well, but he's not going to run onto long balls or get in behind that often because he's just not got the pace to do it. Antonio can hold the ball up and do that, so he causes defences problems. And when the defence has things to think about, or attackers have to come back and help out, that's obviously limiting the amount they can attack. Now, I don't think West Ham are so good they're going to stop Liverpool being able to do that, but Antonio being out will affect West Ham as a team overall. So that's something to consider, absolutely. Again, in terms of the numbers, right, looking between Mane and Salah, week on week, they're not going to change a huge amount. But again, I said last week, if you disregard penalties, Mane looks like the better captain option. And he did get 2 attacking returns, and his expected goals without penalties is still higher than Salah. It's like 4.03 off the top of my head. It's like 4.03 to 2.45. Not a huge amount in it. We know how many goals Salah can score, so I'm not worried about him. But if you own both, it could be a good week to be brave and go for Mane. Like, Mane's going to be up against Soufal and Cole on that right side, or on his left side, West Ham's right side. Salah's going to be up against Masuaku and Cresswell. So not necessarily going to be easier for one or the other. And the fact they're playing wing-back system, I don't know, you feel like they're going to sit quite deep and just try and soak up pressure. They did that quite a bit against Man City. Now, they only conceded 1 against Man City, but there was a few chances where City's just final ball wasn't good enough. There was a chance, I think it was with Cancelo and Sterling, and all Cancelo had to do was kind of square it. First time, to be fair, it wasn't that easy, but square it first time. Sterling was in the box, pretty much open net. That would have been a goal. Suddenly it's 2. Does that get worse and worse? And it's not like West Ham can't be gotten at, right? Spurs scored 3 goals against them recently, but after that first 25-minute period, West Ham were quite good. For me, though, again, you got to back the attack here. West Ham defence might be looking good after 6 games, but 1, that's a small sample size, and 2, they haven't played Liverpool yet, one of the best attacking sides in the league. So I like this one. I actually think this is probably a little bit better than the Brighton game for Spurs. And I do think that Salah and Mane are better captaincy options this week than Kane or Son. Not saying you can't captain Kane or Son. Obviously, it's ultimately up to you. It's still a good fixture. But for Mane and Salah will be where my money is this week. And then maybe we'll look towards the Spurs boys next week. So I think Mane and Salah are looking good. If you own both, Mane could be the one to go for. A little bit of a differential. Underlying numbers look good. If not, you just captain whichever one of the Liverpool boys you got. So we'll talk about some of the other matches. So usually I do like 2 or 3 for the main matches, but I only felt like 2 were worth it this week. Liverpool versus West Ham, Spurs versus Brighton. Wolves versus Palace, right? This is going to be the same old, every single week until the fixtures get tougher for Wolves. Jimenez, for me, is just not a captaincy option, right? He scored in the last 2 games. He still doesn't make me any more want to captain him. He scored 8 points, he scored 9 points. Now, a lot can be talked about explosiveness versus consistency, right? If you just get an attack, if you just get a return from your captain, that's usually a pretty good week, right? And so Jimenez will do that, and he probably will do that against Palace. But will he get double-digit hauls? No. Will he get kind of 2 attacking returns? Probably not. When he does score, he gets bonus. But I don't know. For me, there is something to be said for consistency, but you want to have that explosive return potential as well. And Jimenez just doesn't have it, right? Salah ticks over consistently. He has explosive potential. Sterling ticks over consistently. He has explosive potential. And I'll tell you now, consistency and explosive potential is very hard to say 2 or 3 times in a row there. So yeah, Jimenez not for me. Sheffield United versus Man City. I just don't know what to make of Man City right now. They look quite good in the Champions League. The team's a bit all over the place, right? De Bruyne is fit, then he's not, then he's back. Aguero is not fit, then he is back, now he's not back again. And it's just a little bit all over the place. And Pep does rotate his players quite a lot anyway. So potentially the players aren't going to be affected by this. They know they're going to move around positions in some cases. They know, tactics and strategy and stuff is going to be a little bit different from time to time. But I just don't know about Sheffield United. I will say, having watched the Sheffield United versus Liverpool game, I do think Liverpool could have scored more in that game, and they probably should have. But I still don't see this as a good fixture for Man City, especially when Liverpool and Spurs are playing good fixtures at home. So yeah, for me, I think we can just hold off on Man City maybe for a couple of weeks, then reassess. But what I will say, very, very big differentials, right? Sometimes players are low owned because they're just not going to score many points. That makes sense in FPL. Man City are very low owned right now for what their points potential is. It's pretty huge. So that's something to consider. But I wouldn't captain a player just to be different. But if you think they're going to do well, it could be a huge differential, right? Burnley versus Chelsea. The fact that I saw Burnley defend so well against Spurs does not make me want to captain a Chelsea player at all, because again, Chelsea were good in the Champions League, but we have not seen that in the league really, apart from against Southampton. We all heard about the high line over and over again. Burnley's not going to defend that high. They're going to defend deep. That means the likes of Ziyech and Pulisic and Werner and Havertz have got to unlock them. And even saying out loud, can they unlock them? They're great players. They should be able to. But have we seen that from Chelsea? Not enough for me. If I had Chelsea players, one, I'd probably be thinking of getting rid of them. And in Fan Team, for example, I do own them, and I'm thinking about getting rid of them. And if not, if I was going to hold them, I definitely wouldn't be captain. But that's just me. If you've got a different opinion on any of these games, do leave a comment below. And Man United versus Arsenal. Look, Man United have done very well in the last 3 games. But one of them was against Chelsea. Didn't want to lose. Played quite deep, defensive. I think it's going to be the same versus Arsenal. I don't see Arteta coming out flying, leaving space in behind, which is what Solskjaer and Man United want. Honestly, this could be an open game, but I see like a 0-0 or a 1-1 here. Hopefully Man United get the win, obviously, but I think it's going to be quite low scoring. No one's captaining Man United or Arsenal players in this game, I don't think. I know Rashford's got a pretty good record against Arsenal, but there's just better captains out there, and I just think this could be a dull, drab game. But again, you got a different opinion, let me know below. So that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Whenever you watch it, I've just recorded it and I'm still not quite sure when I'm going to put it live. I will be live streaming on Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. So if this goes out before, great, you can get ready to watch it. If it goes out afterwards, well, the video will be up and you can go back and watch it. But Thursday 8 PM I'll be live streaming. If you've enjoyed this video and if you're enjoying my captaincy videos, which I've only started doing in the last few weeks, please do give it a like. Support on this channel has been incredible. Honestly, this channel is growing huge and it's thanks to your support. And I think we can do big things on this. So thanks very much if you've been watching all the videos, especially the capsy ones. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Why wouldn't you, right? You're watching my content, you're loving it, hopefully. You're hitting that like button. You might as well hit subscribe as well. And lastly, just a quick shout out to everyone that's signed up, supporting me even more through patreon.com/letstalkfpl. If you want to get Slack access, early team kind of reveals, all my videos as podcasts, WhatsApp access, they're all on different tiers. You can check it out in the link in the description below. I will do a quick shout out to everyone that's already signed up. So thanks everyone. This is everyone basically that signed up is on the Patreon Legends wall. So anyone that signs up gets on there. No new sign-ups this week, but we are pushing for the 200 mark. So thanks very much to everyone that's already signed up. So thank you. You're all absolute legends. I will leave the video there. Thanks for watching. Again, there will be a stream and there'll be a Friday deadline stream. I think the deadline is 6:30, so I'll start the video at 5:30. Go for any last minute dilemmas and stuff like that. Any questions? I don't think there's going to be huge news this week, but who knows what the press conferences will throw up. We'll see later. And if you do sign up to Patreon, there will be a Q&A going up on Friday morning as well. Lots of content to come. Thanks for watching. I'm enjoying it as ever. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you again soon.